The ocean was unusually calm that morning. Dr. Lily Chen checked her equipment one last time as the research vessel gently rocked beneath her feet. 6 months of grant money had brought her team to this remote corner of the Indonesian archipelago. Far from the usual tourist spots and shipping lanes, they were here to study coral reef recovery, not chase ghost stories or legends. "Weather's holding up nicely," said Captain Rodriguez, joining her at the bow. His weathered face had seen 30 years at sea, and he'd become something of a father figure to the young marine biologist during their expedition. "Should be smooth sailing for your dive today," Lily nodded, her mind already elsewhere. Something about the readings from yesterday's sonar sweep bothered her. A large shape where no island should be. Too geometric to be natural. She'd almost dismissed it as equipment failure, but her curiosity wouldn't let it go. "I want to check out that anomaly we picked up," she said, pointing to the navigation screen. "It's only a few miles off our planned route." Captain Rodriguez squinted at the display and shrugged. "Your expedition, Doc. Though I'd prefer we stick to the shallower waters." An hour later, the research vessel approached the coordinates. A thick wall of fog seemed to appear from nowhere, enveloping the boat in a ghostly shroud. The air grew heavy with moisture, and sounds became muffled, as if the world beyond the fog didn't exist. "This isn't normal," muttered Ben, the team's oceanographer, adjusting his glasses nervously. "Fog patterns in this region don't behave like this." "Cut the engines," Lily ordered, her voice barely above a whisper. Something about the unnatural silence demanded respect. As the boat drifted forward, the fog began to thin, revealing a sight that made everyone on deck freeze in disbelief. There, floating peacefully in a perfectly still pocket of ocean, was a massive cruise ship. Its white hull gleamed in the sunlight as if freshly painted, with the name Aurora Star visible in elegant blue lettering. "That's impossible," whispered May, the team's youngest researcher. "The Aurora Star disappeared 3 years ago." It was all over the news. Indeed, the luxury cruise liner had vanished without a trace during its maiden voyage, with over 200 passengers and crew aboard. The massive search operation that followed yielded nothing. No distress signal, no debris, no oil slick. The case became one of the modern maritime mysteries, spawning countless documentaries, conspiracy theories, and ghost stories, yet here it was, looking untouched by time or the elements. "We need to call this in," said Captain Rodriguez, already reaching for the radio. But when he tried, there was nothing but static. "Satellite phone's dead too," Ben reported after trying his own device. "And GPS is showing coordinates that keep changing." Lily felt a chill that had nothing to do with the sea breeze. As a scientist, she'd always believed there was a logical explanation for everything. Yet the pristine cruise ship floating before them defied all logic. "We should leave," May suggested, her voice shaking. "Whatever happened to that ship and those people, maybe we don't want to know." But Lily couldn't turn away. This wasn't just a scientific discovery. It was a chance to solve a mystery that had haunted the families of 200 missing people for years. "We need to document everything," she decided, grabbing her camera. "And then board it." "Board it?" Captain Rodriguez looked at her like she'd lost her mind. "Doc, with all due respect, that's a terrible idea. We're not equipped for salvage operations or whatever this is." "I'm not suggesting we salvage it," Lily replied, already snapping photos. "But think about it, all those families never got answers. Never got to bury their loved ones. We owe it to them to at least look." The captain sighed, knowing that look in her eyes. "At least let me come with you." "And Ben too. Me stays with the boat with Jin and keeps trying to reach the mainland." They prepared a small inflatable craft to approach the cruise ship. As they loaded basic supplies and emergency equipment, Lily couldn't shake the feeling they were being watched. The massive ship loomed over them, its endless rows of empty balconies like vacant eyes staring down. 3 hours, Captain Rodriguez told May firmly. "If we're not back in 3 hours, you take the boat and go for help. No heroics." The young researcher nodded solemnly, helping them lower the small craft into the water. As they approached the Aurora Star, its true scale became apparent. The cruise ship was a floating city, rising 15 stories above the waterline with enough rooms to house a small town's population. "There," Ben pointed, "a service ladder on the starboard side." They maneuvered their small boat alongside the towering hull. The boarding ladder hung just a few feet above the waterline, as if waiting for them. "That's odd," the captain muttered. "These are normally raised when at sea." Lily went first, climbing carefully up the metal rungs. Each step took her further from the safety of their research vessel and closer to the unknown. The metal was dry to the touch, no salt corrosion, no rust, no signs of exposure to the elements for 3 years. When they reached the lower deck, they found themselves on a pristine white promenade that wrapped around the entire ship. Deck chairs were arranged neatly, some with towels still draped over them. A half-empty cocktail sat on a small table, the ice long melted but the glass still clean. "It looks like everyone just vanished," Ben whispered. Mid-vacation, Captain Rodriguez unholstered the small flare gun he'd brought along. Not much protection, but better than nothing. "Hello?" he called out, his voice echoing across the empty deck. "Is anyone aboard?" Only silence answered him. They made their way toward a set of glass doors leading inside. Through the spotless glass, they could see an elegant lobby with marble floors and crystal chandeliers. No signs of damage, no evidence of panic or struggle. "The power should be dead after 3 years, Ben noted as Lily pushed the door open. "But look, emergency lights are still on." The air inside was cool and fresh, not the stale, moldy atmosphere expected in an abandoned vessel. Somewhere in the distance they could hear the faint melody of piano music. "Is that coming from the speakers?" Ben asked hopefully. Lily checked the nearest wall panel. "The ship's systems are offline. That music is coming from somewhere else." They followed the sound, moving deeper into the ship's main atrium. A magnificent staircase curved upward, reminiscent of the one from Titanic. The piano music grew louder, then suddenly stopped mid-note. "Hello?" Lily called out. "We're researchers. We're here to help." A heavy silence fell over them. Then from somewhere above came the sound of footsteps, a single person walking slowly across the upper deck. "Someone's alive up there," Lily whispered. Already moving toward the stairs, Captain Rodriguez grabbed her arm. "Doc, wait." "Something's not right. This ship has been missing for 3 years. Nobody could survive that long without supplies or rescue." "Then who's making those footsteps?" she challenged. As if in response, a ship-wide announcement system suddenly crackled to life. The 3 researchers jumped at the unexpected noise. "Welcome aboard the Aurora Star," came a pleasant female voice, the standard pre-recorded message for new guests. "We hope you enjoy your eternal stay with us." Ben's face went pale. "Eternal stay?" That's not the standard cruise line welcome message. The footsteps above had stopped. When they looked up at the balcony overlooking the atrium, no one was there. "We should find the bridge," Captain Rodriguez suggested. "The ship's logs might tell us what happened." Lily nodded, trying to maintain her scientific composure despite the growing unease. They moved cautiously through the empty corridors, passing luxury shops with items still on display, restaurants with tables still set for dinner. "Look at this," Ben said, pointing to a newspaper left on a coffee table in a small lounge area. The date on it matched the day the Aurora Star had disappeared. As they turned a corner heading toward the front of the ship, they came face to face with a crew member's jacket hanging in midair, as if someone invisible was wearing it. Captain Rodriguez swore under his breath, raising his flare gun instinctively. The jacket fell to the floor. "It was just hanging on something," Lily said, trying to convince herself more than the others. She picked it up carefully. The name tag read Chief Officer Dawson. The ship groaned suddenly, the metal hull making the deep, resonant sound of a structure under stress. The 3 of them froze, waiting. The sound faded but was followed by something else, a faint rhythmic tapping from inside the wall beside them. "Morse code?" Ben suggested. Lily pressed her ear against the wall. The tapping pattern repeated. 3 short, 3 long, 3 short. "SOS," Captain Rodriguez translated grimly. "We need to find the bridge," Lily insisted. "Now." They quickened their pace, navigating through the labyrinthine corridors of the massive ship. When they finally reached the bridge, they found it in perfect order. No signs of emergency, no clues to the fate of the crew. The captain's chair sat empty, swiveling slightly as if someone had just risen from it. On the main console, a logbook lay open. Lily approached it cautiously, reading the final entry. Day 3 of maiden voyage. Passengers reporting unusual dreams. Engineering detected anomalous energy signatures from lower deck research section. Dr. Harlow insists it's merely equipment calibration issues. Crew members reported seeing figures in the fog that vanishes when approached. I've ordered security to investigate the restricted areas below deck. Something is happening on this ship that was not in. The ship's sudden awakening left Lily, Ben, and Captain Rodriguez frozen in place. Screens flickered with data, sensors blinked, and somewhere deep in the vessel, machinery hummed to life. "That's impossible," Ben whispered, staring at the active systems. "After 3 years adrift, the batteries should be long dead." Captain Rodriguez moved cautiously to the main control panel. "Someone's maintaining this ship. Or something is." The thought hung in the air between them, unwelcome but impossible to ignore. The pristine condition of the Aurora Star suggested care, not abandonment. Yet they had seen no one. Lily studied the schematics displayed on the screen. The lower decks contained large areas marked simply as restricted, with no details about their purpose. But one chamber, deep in the belly of the ship, was labeled primary containment. "We need to document everything," she said, pulling out her camera. "Whatever happened here, people deserve answers." As she photographed the bridge, Ben downloaded the ship's logs onto a portable drive he'd brought. "Most of the files are encrypted," he noted with frustration. "But I've got the navigation history and communication records." "Anything useful?" Captain Rodriguez asked, still examining the controls. "The last recorded position before disappearance was about 200 miles northeast of here. Then nothing for 3 years until—" Ben looked up with a puzzled expression. "Until yesterday, when the location tracking suddenly reactivated at our current position." "Yesterday?" Lily turned to him. "That can't be coincidence. It gets stranger," Ben continued, scrolling through the data. "According to this, the Aurora Star sent out a signal pulse yesterday at 3:42 a.m., the exact time our equipment picked up that anomaly." The implications were unsettling. Had the ship been waiting for them? Or was it mere coincidence their research vessel happened to be close enough to detect the signal? "Let's check the dining hall," Lily suggested, remembering the outline from the schematics. "It's on the way to the lower decks, and if people disappeared during a meal, it might give us clues." They left the bridge, moving through corridors that seemed both luxurious and eerily empty. Expensive artwork hung on walls, small shops displayed high-end merchandise, and comfortable lounges sat ready for guests who never arrived. "Listen," Captain Rodriguez said suddenly, holding up his hand. Beneath the ship's mechanical hums, they could hear something else, water running somewhere nearby. "A leak?" Ben suggested. "After 3 years, this whole ship should be at the bottom of the ocean if there were leaks," the captain replied grimly. They followed the sound to a stateroom. The door was slightly ajar. Inside, they found a luxurious suite with a breathtaking ocean view. In the bathroom, the shower was running, steam filling the space. A suitcase lay open on the bed, clothes partially unpacked. A pair of reading glasses sat on the nightstand next to a novel, a bookmark placed about halfway through. Lily approached the bathroom cautiously. "Hello, is anyone here?" No answer came. She reached in and turned off the shower. The sudden silence felt heavy. "The water's hot," she noted, touching her damp hand. "The ship's systems are fully operational." On the desk by the window sat a journal. Lily flipped it open, finding it belonged to a passenger named Dr. Thomas Harlow, the same name mentioned in the captain's log. "Listen to this," she said. Reading aloud. "Day 2, the energy readings are off the charts. Whatever we found on the ocean floor, it's unlike anything in recorded science. The military contingent wants to weaponize it, of course. They always do. But this is beyond weapons. The artifact doesn't just generate energy, it bends reality around itself." Ben peered over her shoulder at the journal. "What artifact? What did they find?" "There's more," Lily continued. "Several passengers have reported unusual dreams since we brought it aboard. Dreams of walking into the ocean voluntarily. I've experienced them too, but unlike the others, I recognize them as invasive thoughts. Something is trying to communicate, or control." Captain Rodriguez, who had been examining the room, called them over to the window. "Look at this. On the glass, visible only from certain angles, were handprints. Dozens of them. As if many people had pressed their palms against the window from the inside. These aren't from someone trying to get out," the captain observed quietly. "These are from someone trying to get in." They left the stateroom in uneasy silence, continuing toward the ship's grand dining hall. The corridors seemed to grow colder as they walked, despite the environmental systems running normally. The dining hall doors were propped open, revealing a scene that made them stop in their tracks. The massive 2-story space was set for an elegant dinner. Fine china gleamed on tables draped with white cloths. Wine glasses stood half full, lipstick marks still visible on some rims. Plates contained partially eaten meals, now perfectly preserved, no rot, no mold, as if time had simply stopped. "This isn't natural," Ben whispered, examining a plate of what appeared to be filet mignon, looking as fresh as if it had just been served. Lily took photos, trying to maintain scientific detachment, despite her growing unease. "It's like they all just got up and walked away mid-meal." "Look at this," Captain Rodriguez called from the center of the room. He stood before the head table, where ship officers would have dined with distinguished guests. Place cards marked assigned seats, including one for Dr. Harlow and another for General Davidson, Special Research Division. At the center of this table sat something out of place, a small, ornate wooden box about the size of a jewelry case. It was the only object in the entire dining hall that showed signs of age, its surface dulled and wood cracked slightly. "Should we open it?" Ben asked. Before anyone could answer, a loud metallic groan echoed through the ship, followed by the distinct sound of a door slamming somewhere nearby. "We're not alone here," Captain Rodriguez said, his hand moving to the flare gun at his hip. Lily approached the box cautiously. "Whatever answers exist on this ship, I think they start with this." She carefully lifted the lid. Inside, nestled on faded velvet, lay a small object that resembled a piece of coral or perhaps an unusual rock. About the size of a golf ball, its surface shimmered with an iridescence that seemed to shift colors as they watched. Blues, greens, and purples that had no obvious source. "Is it glowing?" Ben asked, leaning closer. Indeed, the object emitted a faint light, pulsing almost like a heartbeat. "Don't touch it," Captain Rodriguez warned. But Lily already had her scientific instruments out, scanning the object from a distance. "It's giving off energy readings unlike anything I've ever seen." And there's something else, a faint sound just at the edge of hearing. They fell silent, listening. Sure enough, a barely perceptible hum emanated from the object, a tone that seemed to resonate with something deep in their bones. "This must be a sample," Lily theorized, "a small piece of whatever they found and brought aboard." "The artifact," Ben agreed, recalling Harlow's journal. As they studied it, the ship's announcement system suddenly crackled to life again, making them jump. "Attention all passengers and crew," came the pleasant female voice they'd heard earlier. "The evening's entertainment will begin shortly in the grand ballroom. Formal attire is requested." The three exchanged nervous glances. "Just automated messages," Ben said, not sounding convinced. Captain Rodriguez checked his watch. "We've been here almost 2 hours. We need to head back soon or May will follow protocol and leave for help." "We can't go yet," Lily insisted, "not without checking the lower decks. That's where the research facilities were located. That's where we'll find real answers." A soft melody began playing over the ship's speakers. A waltz, elegant and haunting. "The grand ballroom is on the way to the lower deck access," Ben noted, checking the ship's layout on his tablet. "Fine," Captain Rodriguez conceded. "A quick look at the ballroom, then the research level, and then we're gone. Whatever happened here, I'm starting to think we're better off not knowing." They closed the box, leaving it on the table, and made their way out of the dining hall. The corridors seemed different now, the lights dimmer, the shadows deeper, the elegant decor more oppressive than luxurious. The music grew louder as they approached the grand ballroom. Through the ornate double doors they could see a vast space with polished floors and crystal chandeliers. The room was empty, but all the lights were on and the music played as if for an invisible audience. "This is wrong," Captain Rodriguez muttered. "All of this is wrong." Lily stepped into the ballroom, drawn by something she couldn't quite explain. The center of the dance floor featured an intricate inlay, a pattern that matched with stunning exactness the iridescent object they'd found in the box. "It's the same pattern," she called to the others. "This ship was designed around whatever they found." Ben joined her, studying the floor. "These aren't just decorative. Look, there are equations worked into the pattern. Wave functions, quantum formulas." As they examined the inlay, the music suddenly stopped. The silence that followed was broken by the distant sound of applause, faint but distinct, like an audience showing appreciation from very far away. "We need to go," Captain Rodriguez said firmly. "Now." The heavy security door swung open with a hiss of pressurized air. Lily, Ben, and Captain Rodriguez stood at the threshold of the restricted area, a stark contrast to the luxury cruise ship above. Gone were the plush carpets and elegant decor. replaced by sterile white corridors and industrial lighting that flickered erratically. "This doesn't look like any cruise ship I've ever seen," Captain Rodriguez muttered, his flare gun held ready. The air smelled different down here, antiseptic and metallic. The temperature was noticeably cooler, their breath forming small clouds in front of their faces. "According to the schematics, this entire section isn't even in the official blueprints," Ben said, consulting his tablet. "It's like they built a secret lab inside the cruise ship." They moved cautiously down the corridor, passing rooms with glass observation windows. Each lab they peered into told the same story: work abandoned in a hurry. Microscopes left with samples still under lenses. Computer screens displaying paused calculations, coffee mugs half empty on desks. "Look at this," Lily called, stopping at a room labeled Analysis Lab 3. Inside, the walls were covered with photographs and notes, images of what appeared to be an underwater excavation site, scientific data charts and handwritten observations pinned haphazardly across the space. Using Chief Officer Dawson's keycard, they entered the lab. Ben immediately went to the computer while Lily examined the wall of information. "These are deep-sea images," she said, studying the underwater photographs. "Really deep. Look at the specialized equipment they're using. This is abyssal zone exploration, at least 4,000 meters down." Captain Rodriguez pointed to a large central image. "What is that?" The photograph showed what appeared to be a structure on the ocean floor. Geometric shapes that didn't match any natural formation, partially buried in sediment. Around it, researchers in advanced diving suits looked like tiny specks. "Not natural," Lily confirmed, her scientific mind racing. "And definitely not recent. Look at the sediment buildup. Whatever this is, it's been down there a very long time." Ben had managed to access the computer. "I've got something," he called. "Video logs from the research team. The last entry is from the day the ship disappeared." They gathered around as Ben played the file. A tired-looking woman in her 50s appeared on screen, her lab coat rumpled and dark circles under her eyes. "Day 3 of primary analysis," she began. "The artifact continues to exhibit properties that defy our understanding of physics. Energy output has increased by 380% since we brought it aboard, with no discernible power source. The military team wants to move it to a secure facility immediately, but I've convinced General Davidson to give us 48 more hours." She rubbed her eyes, looking exhausted. "The dreams are affecting more of the crew. 28 people reported the same experience last night, walking into the ocean while something watches from the depths. The ship's counselor thinks it's mass hysteria due to stress, but I'm not convinced." The scientist looked over her shoulder, then leaned closer to the camera, lowering her voice. "I don't think it's an artifact. I think it's alive in some way we can't comprehend, and I think it wants something from us." The video ended abruptly. "Check if there are more," Lily urged. Ben scrolled through the files. "There's one more, time-stamped 4 hours later." This video showed the same scientist, now visibly distressed. The laboratory behind her was in disarray, alarms blaring silently in the background. "It's communicating through us," she said urgently. "Not just in dreams now. People are—" She stopped, tilting her head as if listening to something. "They're changing. The security team tried to contain the affected passengers, but there are too many. They're heading for the artifact chamber." She looked directly into the camera, her eyes wide. "If anyone finds this, stay away from the Aurora Star. What we found should have stayed buried." The screen went black. The 3 researchers stood in silence, processing what they'd just seen. "We need to find this artifact chamber," Lily finally said. "Are you crazy?" Captain Rodriguez shook his head. "Did you not hear her warning? We need to get off this ship now. Don't you understand what this means?" Lily gestured at the research. "They found something that could change our understanding of everything. Physics, maybe even human consciousness. We can't just walk away." "I think we can and should," the captain countered. "Whatever they found drove an entire shipload of people to what? Disappear? Kill themselves? Become something else? None of those options sound good to me." Ben, who had been examining the lab's notes, interrupted their argument. "I think I know where the artifact chamber is. These notes reference primary containment on sublevel 3. That matches the area marked on the ship schematics." Lily looked at her watch. "We have about 45 minutes before May expects us back. Just a quick look and then we go. I promise." Captain Rodriguez clearly wanted to refuse, but years of working with stubborn scientists had taught him when to pick his battles. Quick look. At the first sign of trouble, we run. No heroics, no sample collection, no staying to figure things out. They followed Ben's directions through the maze of corridors, descending another level via a service elevator that groaned in protest. The lights grew dimmer as they went deeper, emergency lighting providing only minimal illumination. Powers being diverted, Ben noted, checking a wall panel. Almost all the ship's energy is being channeled somewhere below us. The third sublevel was different from the others. The walls here were reinforced with some kind of metal Lily didn't recognize, dark and slightly iridescent, similar to the object they'd found in the dining room. The metal's warm, she noted, touching the wall carefully. And there's a vibration like a low-frequency hum. They turned a corner and stopped. Ahead, a massive vault door stood partially open, bright blue-green light spilling out into the corridor. The light pulsed rhythmically like a heartbeat. Primary containment, Ben whispered, pointing to the sign. As they approached the door, the humming sound grew more intense. Lily could feel it in her chest now, resonating with her heartbeat. Anyone else feel that? She asked. Captain Rodriguez nodded grimly. Like it's pulling us in. The vault door was at least 2 feet thick, designed to contain something powerful. The fact that it stood open was not reassuring. They peered through the opening. Inside was a cavernous chamber that shouldn't have fit within the ship's dimensions. The center of the room housed what they had come to find. The artifact was about the size of a car, appearing to hover several feet above a specially designed platform. Its shape defied easy description, geometric yet organic, with surfaces that seemed to fold in on themselves in impossible ways. The blue-green light emanated from within it, pulsing in that same heartbeat rhythm. Around the artifact, the air itself seemed distorted, as if the very fabric of reality was being bent. "It's beautiful," Lily whispered, unable to look away. Indeed, despite the inherent wrongness of the object, there was something captivating about it. The colors shifted hypnotically, revealing glimpses of patterns that nearly made sense before shifting again. "Those are people," Ben said suddenly, pointing to the far side of the chamber. In the shadows beyond the artifact stood figures, dozens of them perfectly still and silent. Passengers and crew dressed as they had been on the day the ship disappeared, watching the artifact with unblinking eyes. Captain Rodriguez raised his flare gun. "Hello, can you hear us? We're here to help." The figures didn't respond or acknowledge them in any way. Lily took a cautious step into the chamber, drawn by both scientific curiosity and something else, a pull she couldn't explain. "Dr. Chen, don't," the captain warned, but his voice sounded distant to her now. As she moved closer to the artifact, the figures finally reacted. As one, they turned their heads to watch her. Their movements were oddly fluid, almost underwater-like in their grace. "Lily," Ben called sharply, breaking her trance. "Your nose is bleeding." She touched her face, fingers coming away red. The realization of danger cleared her mind somewhat. "We should go," she agreed, taking a step back. But the figures had begun to move, gliding forward with that same unsettling grace. As they emerged from the shadows, their appearance became clear, human in shape but changed. Their skin had the same iridescent quality as the artifact, and their eyes reflected the pulsing light from within. "They've been exposed to it for 3 years," Ben realized aloud. "Whatever it does, they're part of it now." "Run," Captain Rodriguez said simply. Backing toward the door, the figures moved faster, reaching out with hands that no longer seemed quite solid. The 3 researchers turned and ran, the captain pausing only to pull the vault door closed behind them. It moved with surprising ease, as if it wanted to be shut. "What are they?" Ben gasped as they sprinted back toward the elevator. "Not human," Captain Rodriguez replied grimly. "Not anymore." They reached the elevator, Lily repeatedly jabbing the call button. Behind them, the sound of the vault door reopening echoed through the corridor. "Stairs," the captain decided, pulling them toward the emergency exit. As they climbed, a ship-wide announcement played once more. The glowing forms in the water moved with impossible grace, circling the ship in perfect harmony. Each one shimmered with the same unearthly blue-green light as the artifact. Human in shape, but clearly no longer human in nature. "We're trapped," Ben whispered, his scientific curiosity finally overwhelmed by primal fear. Captain Rodriguez scanned the deck, searching for options. "The lifeboats on this side have been launched," he noted, pointing to empty davits. Let's try the port side. They ran across the upper deck, the transformed passengers from inside the ship now emerging onto the deck behind them. The singing grew louder, the harmonies more complex, vibrating through the metal beneath their feet. Their song is changing the ship, Lily realized, pointing to the deck railings, which now rippled like liquid despite remaining solid to the touch. Patches of the same iridescent material that covered the artifact were spreading across the deck, consuming the ship piece by piece. They reached the port side to find an emergency lifeboat still in place. Captain Rodriguez quickly began the release procedure while Ben and Lily kept watch. "They're not running," Ben observed nervously. "Why aren't they chasing us?" The transformed passengers had spread out across the deck, forming a loose semicircle about 50 feet away. They made no move to approach but continued their haunting song. Several raised their arms toward the trio, palms forward as if in welcome or supplication. "They don't need to chase us," Lily said, her voice tight with fear. "They know we're surrounded." The captain had managed to start the lifeboat's automated launch sequence. "Get in," he ordered. 4 minutes until it drops." They climbed into the covered lifeboat, a modern design meant to protect occupants from the elements. Through its windows, they watched as the transformed passengers began a slow, synchronized dance, their movements flowing like water. "Something's happening," Ben said, pointing to the center of the dancing circle. The air there shimmered and distorted, a miniature version of the effect they had seen around the artifact. Within this distortion, a shape began to form, humanoid but wrong, proportions stretched and features indistinct. "It's trying to manifest," Lily breathed, her scientific mind still analyzing despite her fear. Whatever intelligence is behind the artifact, it's using them to create a physical form. The lifeboat mechanism hummed as it prepared to lower them to the water. Captain Rodriguez peered at the control panel. 2 minutes. "Wait," Ben said suddenly. "Even if we get to the water, what then? Our research vessel is at least half a mile away and those things are swimming all around us." The captain's face hardened. "We have a small outboard motor. We make a run for it and hope we're faster." "And if we're not?" Lily asked quietly. He met her eyes. "Then at least we tried." A loud metallic groan reverberated through the ship, different from the sounds they'd heard before. This was the normal sound of stressed metal, of a large vessel shifting in the water. "The ship's moving," Captain Rodriguez said, looking out the window. Indeed, the Aurora Star had begun to turn, slowly but with purpose. The singing from the transformed passengers grew more intense, more focused. "They're controlling it," Ben realized. "But where are they taking it?" Lily's eyes widened as understanding dawned. "The research vessel, our team. They're after May and the others." The lifeboat's launch countdown reached 1 minute. Captain Rodriguez examined the manual controls. "I can override this, make it drop now." "Do it," Lily urged. "We need to warn them." The captain pulled the emergency release. The lifeboat shuddered, then began its descent toward the dark water below. Through the windows, they watched the transformed passengers gather at the railing above, still singing their otherworldly song. With a splash, they hit the water. Captain Rodriguez immediately fired up the small motor, turning them away from the massive cruise ship. "Radio?" Lily asked urgently. Ben found the emergency kit and pulled out a handheld radio. "Channel 16, the captain instructed. "Emergency broadcast." Ben tuned the radio and handed it to Lily. "Research Vessel Horizon, this is Dr. Chen. Do you copy?" "May, Jin, anyone." Static crackled, then a faint voice broke through. "Hear you. Signal weak. What situation?" "May, listen carefully." Lily spoke clearly despite her racing heart. "Start the engines. Move away from your current position immediately. Do not wait for us. Repeat, do not wait. Can't leave you. Protocol says override protocol," Captain Rodriguez shouted into the radio. "That's an order. The Aurora Star is headed your way. Get out of there now!" The radio crackled again. "Moving. But what about—" The transmission cut out as something bumped against the lifeboat, rocking it violently. Through the windows, they could see the glowing forms in the water surrounding them. "Faster," Lily urged. "This is full throttle," the captain replied grimly. "These lifeboats aren't built for speed." The forms in the water kept pace easily, some swimming alongside while others dove beneath them. Despite the immediate danger, Lily couldn't help but marvel at their transformed physiology. How perfectly they moved through water, how their bodies seemed almost fluid themselves. They're hurting us, Ben observed, watching their pattern. Not attacking, but guiding our direction. He was right. The swimming figures had formed a loose corridor, keeping the lifeboat on a specific path, not toward their research vessel, but parallel to the cruise ship's new course. Can we break through? Lily asked. Captain Rodriguez adjusted their heading, trying to turn away from the path they were being guided along. Immediately, several forms rose from the water directly in their path, forcing him to swerve back. Not without hitting them, he answered. And I don't know if this hull could withstand the impact. Look, Ben pointed ahead. What's that? In the distance, a faint glow emanated from beneath the waves. As they drew closer, forced along by their eerie escorts, the glow resolved into a massive shape on the ocean floor, visible despite being hundreds of feet down. It's another one, Lily whispered. Another artifact, bigger, much bigger. The underwater structure resembled the artifact they'd seen in the ship's containment chamber, but on a monumental scale. It pulsed with the same hypnotic rhythm, its light reaching up through the water like bioluminescent tent drills. That's what they found, Ben realized. The small one on the ship was just a fragment, a piece they brought up for study. The cruise ship was turning again, positioning itself directly above the underwater structure. The transformed swimmers around their lifeboat began to dive, disappearing beneath the waves. They're rejoining it, Lily said, becoming part of whatever it is. With their escorts gone, Captain Rodriguez immediately changed course, gunning the small motor toward where they hoped their research vessel might be. We need to get back to civilization, he said firmly. Tell people what's happening here. Will anyone believe us? Ben asked. Before Lily could answer, a blinding column of light erupted from the water where the underwater structure lay, connecting to the cruise ship above. The Aurora star began to transform more rapidly now, its hull rippling and changing, the iridescent material consuming it entirely. The light was painfully bright, forcing them to shield their eyes. When they looked again, the cruise ship was changing. Its form twisted and reshaped, growing extensions and appendages that no ship should have. The entire vessel was being remade into something else, something alive. It's not just the people, Lily breathed. It's converting the entire ship into whatever it is. A low rumble built beneath them, more felt than heard, as if the ocean itself was responding to what was happening. The water around them began to churn. Tsunami? Ben asked fearfully. No, Captain Rodriguez said, pointing to their depth finder. Something's rising. The underwater structure was ascending, pushing a massive displacement wave before it. Their small lifeboat began to rise on the swell. Hang on, the captain shouted as they crested the wave, then plunged down its far side. They were thrown against the sides of the lifeboat as it tumbled down the wave. The engine sputtered and died. For several terrifying moments they were at the mercy of the churning sea. When the water calmed enough for them to see again, they beheld a sight that defied comprehension. Where the Aurora star had been, something new now floated. A massive structure that was part ship, part biological entity, and part something else entirely. It pulsed with energy, its surface flowing and reshaping continuously, and rising from the water before it was the full artifact. A colossal geometric shape that seemed to exist in more dimensions than the eye could perceive. The air around it bent and warped, reality itself struggling to accommodate its presence. It's beautiful, Ben whispered, his voice a mixture of terror and awe. Indeed, despite its alien wrongness, there was something undeniably captivating about the structure. It radiated not just light but a sense of age and power beyond human comprehension. Look, Captain Rodriguez pointed to where a small speck was visible on the horizon, their research vessel, moving away at full speed.